just.
You should take it from there.
Do they know we're coming? Only reason I asked is because I'm wondering with TVs and everything, if they're nuts for March Madness. I don't even know if they have.
I don't.
So if
They
they
have a
don't,
couple behind them. But
I'm gonna call the meeting to order and let's rise. We'll have Mayor Dunn lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Yes. So we'll start with the roll call, and I'll just note that there was a time on Big East Week, we couldn't get a quorum for a meeting, so times are the same. And unfortunately, Mayor Cassetti is not with us this morning from Sonia. His mom passed away last evening. So we're expecting Sheila online in this moment. Online, I believe we have First Selectman Smith from Beacon Falls. First Selectman Smith.
Saw his name there.
He's there. He's acknowledged. All right, we'll come back. From the town of Bethlehem, First Selectman Authority could not join us today. From the city of Bristol, Mayor Caggiano here. From the town of Cheshire, Andrew Martelli, assistant town manager, Andrew Martelli, I work that in every time. From the city of Derby, do we have Mayor DiMartino online yet? Not yet. From the town of Middlebury, First Selectman St. John is on.
I'm on Zoom. I'm zooming in today.
Thank you. Borough of Naugatuck.
Here.
From the town of Oxford, we're supposed to be joined remotely by Christian Bozen, the alternate. Peter. Mayor Kilduff could not join us from Plymouth today. From the town of Prospect, Mayor Chatfield.
Here.
Thank you, sir. From the town of Seymour, do we have First Selectwoman Dragonis on the line? No. Okay. City of Shelton, we're expecting Mayor Loretti to be here. From the town of Southbury, First Selectman Mandel.
Here.
Thank you. First Selectman Moan is on vacation. From the city of Waterbury, we are expecting the mayor and or Judy Mancini. From the town of Watertown, online, I believe we have town manager Mark Ramo.
Here.
Sir. Town of Wolcott, Mayor Dunn.
Here.
And from the town of Woodbury, First Selectwoman Perkinson is on the line.
Here.
Thank you.
Hey, Rick, I'm not sure I'm here. This is First Selectman Smith.
I'm just about to come back to you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
And luckily, we have just made a quorum for both the MPO and the COG. So with that, Mr. Chair, you can move on and then into the MPO meeting.
Okay, let's start with public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to address the COG here on the first day of spring? All right, another call for public comment. Last call for public comment. All right, we will proceed to our CNVMPO meeting. 2025-2028 tip amendments, project 0080-0128 update, Rich Donovan.
Yes, thank you, and good morning, everyone. I do want to just start off really quickly by acknowledging that we have a very strong presence from the Connecticut Department of Transportation here today. We have members of the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, as well as the team leading the New Mix project here in Waterbury. They'll be doing a presentation a little bit later on. So just, there is no action on tip amendments today. I wanted to provide a brief update following the action taken at the last meeting regarding this project, which is the exit 17 interchange in Middlebury. During the meeting, the board requested additional information regarding this project before taking an action on the proposed amendment at that time. So we've been working very closely with the department and especially with Intergovernmental Affairs to try and get that additional information, make an amended or receive an amended tip amendment that we would feel comfortable advancing and having an action taken on, and we anticipate to take that action at the next meeting. So we've heard in the time since the project is still on track. It is right now considered in an over-programmed state for fiscal year 2026, which is a pretty standard practice. The way that CONDOT and the Capital Services Unit program projects, they are very careful to make sure that we are able to use not only all of the money that is available to Connecticut, but also sometimes money that is left over from other states. They do a really exceptional job at this, and so it's a pretty standard accounting practice for them. And the change that had been proposed was part of that overall practice to ensure that funds for this project don't expire, given that this project is not going to be ready to move forward this year. So we like I said, we'll have a further update and a more detailed schedule, as well as an amended TIF amendment in front of you for the next meeting.
Okay, any questions for Rich? Okay, Rich, Waterbury urban area CMP.
Yeah, so we've spoken about this for a few meetings in a row now, but as a reminder, on October 31st of 2023, the Waterbury urban area was designated as a transportation management area, which is a designation that is typically given to urban areas with a population over 200,000 residents. We were able to request that, given our very shy miss from that number. And that was designated by a request from the governor and action from the Secretary of USDOT. One of the requirements of a TMA is to maintain a congestion management process. And so as the name suggests, it is not an individual plan or an individual action, but an ongoing process, and something that we consider in all transportation planning decisions that we make. And so we prepared a report. It looks back at data for the past several years and identifies some of the region's most congested spots, and as well as some metrics around that congestion. But most importantly, what we're asking for you to do today is to endorse the action items, the actual strategies for congestion management that are in this report. That again are not necessarily specific to one specific item or one time, but are considered in all of the actions that we make. These strategies align really closely with work that we have adopted in the past, including goals laid out in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan adopted back in 23 that looks out to 2050. The goals and strategies we identified in the last Unified Planning Work Program that was adopted just about 2 years ago, as well as in the Vision Zero goal that was adopted back in September of 22, and the VMT reduction strategy adopted back in September of 23. So I'm happy to take any questions, and our recommendation is adoption of Resolution 2509 endorsing the urban area CMP.
So move, Prospect.
Seconded, Southbury. All right, do we have any discussion or questions for Rich? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. NVCOG administrative items, minutes for approval. They're done.
So moved. Second, Gagliano.
All right, any discussion or questions on the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial report, Michael.
Thank you. So this is the finance report for period ending January 31st. We're 58% or 7 months through the year. Our current bottom line is $63,000. We have a nice cash balance of 2.8 million. Our general fund is 1.48 million, which is about 26% of our annual budget. And our expense line is budget to actual is about 42%, which we do anticipate converging to target towards the year end. Other than that, other highlights, nothing significant, no unexpected funding cuts. And we previously had a federal funding freeze on the EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, which is we're a subrecipient of through SCROG, and that has currently resumed, funding's resumed, but we're billing on a month-to-month basis now, versus having to do it quarterly, in case there's any other freezes moving forward.
All right, any questions for Michael?
Move to accept, Jeff.
Second, Supper. All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are you gonna tell us about the audit report?
Yes, sir. Okay, so we received the audit report for fiscal year ending 2024. And it was reviewed by the audit committee last week on the 14th. The overall highlights of it, there weren't any material weaknesses in internal controls. All financial statements were presented fairly in all material respects. We ended the year with unrestricted funding balance of $1,048,000, which, again, is about 26% of our current yearly budget. We did end the year with a surplus of just over $90,000, even though we had budgeted a $0 surplus or a balanced budget. We had a $46,000 increase in government activities, and our indirect rate came in at 119%, which is a 4.5% decrease from what was budgeted for operating expenses. So essentially, we got more done for less. However, we do with the indirect rate being lower, since we overbilled, we will be returning about $31,000 to CONDOT due to the indirect cost reconciliation. And that's reflected in all the numbers, like the year-end surplus and such.
All right, looks pretty solid to me. Any questions? You gonna vote on this?
No, we normally don't vote. This was a point of controversy in the past.
I know.
We just
received
it.
All right. I'll note for the record that it's been received, and we will proceed to the director's report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I keep moving it short this month. We had a rather long meeting last month, and we're tight for time this month. So I've left it to the actions from the executive committee meeting of last week. So there are 2 items in front of the board with a recommendation for endorsement of the resolution. First one is the land banking agreement for the Kinneytown Dam project. This is the one that is statutorily required under the Brownfield Land Banking Act in Connecticut. So the COG must enter into the agreement as the governmental entity. We're entering into the agreement with the Connecticut Brownfields Land Bank. And it really just lays out the statutory obligations of both parties under the act and governs conduct of both going forward. The resolution that you will adopt, it will empower Mayor Hess to sign on behalf of NVCOG, and then I am empowered on behalf of the Connecticut Brownfield Land Bank to sign on their behalf. I'm happy to answer any additional questions, but the recommendation from the executive board through last week's meeting was to endorse.
The attorney reviewed it, so
It's a drafted and reviewed by, our attorneys, and, certainly, a comprehensive document.
Want a motion? So move. Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any questions? The first step towards victory here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, the other item, which is another major milestone for us, the executive board reviewed the negotiated lease between the city of Waterbury and the NVCOG for the space in Unit 6 at 21, I believe it's 21 West Main Street, 27 West Main Street, otherwise known as One Exchange Place. Again, negotiated by the attorneys on both sides, as well as staff and officials from the city and from the COG. I can just go through the quick high points to answer any of the questions that have come up before. I mean, I like to characterize this as netting out, we're gaining 2,965 square feet, and the cost difference, the gross cost difference between our current lease, if we extended it here, and our projection is that we're gaining that space at a gross cost of projected to be $12.78 a square foot. And I think it's a good deal for both parties. I think we have some tough negotiation. With regard to parking, we will have 15 reserved spaces in the building garage. We will have unlimited, unreserved use of the balance of the spaces as long as they're available. And the city tells us they do not plan to have the municipal employees parking in that garage when they're moved into that swinging space in the lower floors. We also have additional parking in the municipal lots surrounding the building. So there are 3 in relatively close proximity: Scoville, the main municipal grant garage right behind us here that we already use, and Prospect Street. And we'll have guest validation for those facilities. We've taken a conservative approach on the common area charges. As most of you know, we've gone from a gross lease here to a net lease there. So we've taken a conservative approach. We're very comfortable that the common area charges, when they come in, will come in lower. We've deferred any discussion on property taxes until such time as the city may sell the building, which is its intention after it finishes using it as swing space with their own staff. So some number of years down the line, and what we've agreed to is just a good faith effort for the city to enter into a negotiation for some sort of tax fixing agreement with the COG. And I think it's a very fair settlement of that issue, although we are deferring it for the time being. The plan itself is a fit up that we've agreed to in the, so it's a plan that's attached as an exhibit, lays out this, the footage and how the building is to be delivered to us. We had to make some compromises. We're unable to get individual offices for everyone. But we did get some good items in return. So with flooring, they will fit up the space to code, meeting ADA, bathrooms, access, all of the requirements for a public building. We will install our own flooring, for which we're getting a credit of $4 per square foot. We think our cost is probably going to be somewhere between $6 and $8 a foot installed. And then the sacrifice of some of the fully demised offices that we would have liked. We're going to have somewhere between 4 and 8. There's a capacity for 8. What are called furniture offices, cubicles, they're fancy cubicles. And we've negotiated a credit up to $70,000 for the installation of those, which we will do.
So got a better elevator?
So the 3 big items in the building, we are also not going to be responsible for participating in the cost of 3 things that the city has guaranteed to us. So they will they're responsible for the first new roof that's put on the building, which is part of their current project anyway. They're responsible for the first new HVAC system replacement. And they're responsible for the elevators, which they have ordered. When we first occupy the building, it's likely we're going to have a single elevator. The city has already invested tens of thousands of dollars in to make it work and function. And then once the two new elevators are delivered, they'll be installed one at a time, and we'll all have good access. We'll work out security access between the city and the COG, but we're expecting to have secure access to our space and to the elevators. We'll be able to shut down and open the elevators for evening meetings as we need to. The last thing that I'll say with regard to the term of the lease, we're committing to a 10-year initial term and then 2 5-year renewals. The cost increases in the lease work out to be 2% a year. Which we thought was a fair settlement between trying to guess at CPI or guess at future rates. So we believe we're in good shape there. And then, as Michael talked to you earlier in the audit about the fund balance, we've been building up some cash to prepare for a move. So we're going to spend about $250,000 of that money because we'll have to take care of some of our security installation, all of our IT, we'll be bringing fiber into our section of the building. We'll be adding our own IT network, and of course we have to move, we have storage costs, we have all of those other related activities. But feel very comfortable that will leave us with a solid fund balance that allows us to run an operation of this sort with enough cash flow where we're never in trouble. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions.
When do we move in?
We're working with the city on their deadline. I think our expectation is sometime in the fall we'll be ready for us to move in. Our lease here expires on June 30th, and we'll be. If this is approved, then I'll meet with the landlords to discuss our situation with them and our need to go on a month-to-month basis or something.
Will you try and stay in business, or you're gonna shut down for 2 weeks while you move?
We're probably gonna end up shutting down for some period of time. I want to minimize it as much as possible. I hope to work out, at least in my head, I hope to work out with the moving company that we get the move done on a Friday to Monday. And then work with staff to move their own personal stuff and their own records and things that need to be packed up and moved over there. But yeah, I'm hoping a week. Maybe.
Move to accept.
Second.
Okay, discussion of.
Yeah, Rick, just for my own, you're expanding quite a bit of square footage. Do you expect to, I mean, you're occupying all the square footage here now, just so we understand the need for that extra square footage, just in our head, we know. And is there any future plans of the need for that extra space?
Thank you. So we have right now 7 people in hallways. We have a two offices tripled up, and we have 1 office doubled up. We're short on space for our equipment, and copiers. We need a secure room for maintenance of our drones, things like that, where we can power them and work on them and keep it all in place. We actually pay for 7,000 square feet here. We only have 5,200 usable square feet though. And there we will have a full 8,100 and something square feet. So that's one of the reasons it's a good deal, is we're paying for space here we can't use.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Here we go.
If I could, I just want to thank everyone who was involved in this and helped in the negotiation.
It's just a funny comment too. I took a ride up in the elevator with Rick, first time ever, and he said hopefully last time ever. I do the stairs all the time.
The permit switched. The permit's expired in that elevator. The fire marshals must be.
It's wow.
That's
It's the
okay.
state. It's the state. Needs to get out.
The mayor's here, let's just let that go.
I think it's still in the grace period.
Okay, is anything else in your report?
I have nothing else today. I'm happy to answer any other questions board members may have.
All right, any questions for Rick?
Yeah, I have one question. Do you have a haircut schedule anytime soon?
I think we take a vote, I like it.
Actually, I had it posted last Friday. You did? I did. You should have seen it last Friday. I look like Einstein.
All right, municipal affairs, Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two things from an emergency management perspective. Number one, just a reminder that April 1, 2020 at Camp Net in Niantic is CCM's annual Connecticut Emergency Management Symposium. And then some bad news, unfortunately, that on April 1st also, we are losing our good friend and partner from Demis, John Field, to retirement. So I just want to thank John for his guidance in emergency management for me personally over the last 2 years. And I know the board probably has the same sentiment. He's unfortunately not online to hear us though, so.
I'd like to have a letter sent thanking him. His picture was in the paper this morning, lining up for his new job. He's going back to what he used to do. Which could be a fire chief up north. And just said, guys, yeah, I think he went over and above in a lot of things that other directors haven't. And just not necessarily a sign of it from the COG, you know.
Agreed. You gonna take care of that, Rick?
We'll work out. Yep.
Proceed,
That's it in emergency management. Next slide, please.
okay? NVEDD update.
Yes, very briefly, our staff is working with EDA right now, who is the United States Economic Development group to determine what the new rules are going to be around creating a CEDS, a Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy for the region. As you know, on the federal level, there are a lot of changes coming down the pike. So in the legal team at the EDA is currently working on removing words that are trigger words or no words, as our representative from Philadelphia has said, including but not limited to equity and climate change. So once we get that documentation, we'll move forward with some next steps, and we should have something substantial or substantive for the board in the next month or two, just to sign our next steps with that. Any questions on that?
Yeah, what do we know about the current status of EDA? Are they operating or not, or what are they?
They are operating. They just received their first reauthorization in 20 years in October of 2024. So they're optimistic that they'll be funded and good to go come sooner than later, but there really seems to be a lot of uncertainty about the timeline of that. So we're doing what we have to do administratively in the meantime and we're working with SEDC to talk about next steps of a handoff of that responsibility. But yeah, EDA looks to be healthy, but I guess, Rick, do you have any more comments on that from the federal side?
There'll be a transitional period. They anticipate inviting applicants to apply for the planning fund in May, but they've also warned us it may not be until June. We're going forward with writing the plan now because the plan will expire on June 30th, and having it expire is a far greater risk than expending the effort to get that updated.
So our Naugatuck EDA application, we should wait for the new, for us to take over?
Project application?
Yeah.
No, you can go forward with it anytime. Drew can facilitate it now.
Through that Bevin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, any other questions for Drew? All right, are you gonna solve the regional fire training school for us, Drew?
I'm good, but not that good. Just at the request of First Selectman Temple last month, I did do some digging on the status of that and talked to Mayor Dunn about it. Essentially, the current school in Woolkit obviously is kind of falling apart at this stage. So I did speak to the director of that school, Craig Henderson, who has worked up a PowerPoint. There's a couple slides I pulled from that PowerPoint here. And he and the rest of the Waterbury area chiefs have been working with some key legislators, area legislators at the state level. To kind of get this back to the top of the docket, if you will. I don't know that we'll see any action out of this session, but the Cheshire location, obviously, as a lot of you already know, the plans are drawn up. The land is in, the state owns the land. So the obstacles seem to be strictly political. So I think we'll kind of let the Waterbury Chiefs do what they're doing. And I know, again, Mayor Dunn is folded into that activity. And I guess I'll continue to keep the board updated if there's maybe an opportunity for a letter of support or anything else from this body. That would probably be the best thing we could do at this time.
These things are political, there's no question about it. We have wrestled with this in the valley probably for about 15, maybe 20 years and got nowhere. So I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why it should be
Well, I
controversial.
know, right here you have a piece of property available, ready to go, shovel ready, plans ready to go. And as it is, he's there.
Ed St. John here. I'd like to weigh into this discussion, if I could. Mr. Mayor, can I weigh into this discussion?
Absolutely, proceed.
Been dealing with this thing for 20 years. I chaired the original school. Here we are 20 years later. I see a lot of smiles in the room. 20 years later, nothing has been done. All these presentations, all these legislators, and all by people sitting around this table, it's been discussed and discussed and discussed. The state of Connecticut, as far as I am concerned, has turned their back on fire training in the state. They were approved to build both the Beacon Falls facility and the Wolcott School. The monies were appropriated. The projects were bid. Nothing has been done in 10 years. Nothing. That's all I got to say. There's one project, Bob Chatfield and I, this project will outlive us. Sorry to say. Sad, very sad. That's all I got to say.
I agree.
Do you have
Mr.
the next
Chairman.
move, Drew, or what do we do?
Kind of gonna follow the lead of the Waterbury Chiefs Association, and I'll come back to the board with an update about what their move is, and I think we can support that move would be the best thing we can do.
How do you update nothing over 20 years?
That's a good question. If you want me to go, to work on that specifically, I'm happy to go.
I think this is what this presentation was, because when I made the call after what happened last week, that Beacon Falls wasn't gonna go with that, they're taking the property back. I just called up the people that were involved. We were involved, Mayor O'Leary, myself, all the Waterbury Chiefs went up there. We met some lady that, I think that one person, I can't think of her name, was like the key person to get making this happen. But it was shovel ready, the property was given, I mean, there's all utilities are there. This presentation was put together, just finished up last week, when I called Rick Hart, actually, from the Fire Association. He said, we just hired somebody to do from beginning to where we are now. So this presentation is fresh. I think we're gonna maybe go up there and meet some fresh minds and see if we can push it through.
Hope was eternal.
Mayor Chatfield.
As a founding member of the Waterbury Area Fire Chiefs, we also should thank the town of Wolcott for letting us use their buildings out to the sign of their old landfill. And I've taught some classes out there, and if it wasn't the town of Wolcott, we wouldn't have had anything for the last 25 years.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob. I was there too, Bob.
I still have all my hair.
I know, I still do too, have mine too, Bob.
And I haven't been around that long.
I know. It's just so frustrating that now we're doing more studies and more studies. And now there's an issue that the town of Beacon Falls would like the property back. Well, you can build a school in Wolcott then, because that's not an issue. Not an issue whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm hoping that with this new information, well, the old information, it's brand new presentation, that we can go with the COG's backing, an area of chiefs in there, that we could go up to the state and meet some people and try to push this
So
through.
who leads that effort?
All right.
I'm not sure who would,
Ad hoc committee. You would appoint an ad hoc committee.
Can we do
We can do it at any time, sir.
that? All right, who should I appoint?
I think there are some people who have already.
Volunteered.
Yeah.
it would be nice if we could get that built soon, because then we could have Ed St. John and Mayor Chatfield up there to.
Why don't we have-
Good luck. Can I reserve the date?
Of your what?
Pull together, the committee of interested parties and then we can make recommendations. Yeah, well, they'll meet before then.
Okay.
Just for the record, I just want to add, with regard to the Beacon Falls facility, First Selectman St. John is correct, the General Assembly approved the funding, but the bond commission did not, and it was after the bond commission failed to approve the funding is when Beacon Falls said, we're tired of this, we want our land back, it's in our industrial park, and we want to use it to expand economic base.
Rick,
So,
don't
in
forget
fairness
that
to Beacon Falls, they didn't yank it off the table, the
Rick.
money wasn't.
Rick, they want
Yes.
their land back. The state of Connecticut bought that land from the town of Beacon Falls, okay?
I understand.
So it's a little bit more complicated than it sounds, okay? So to get that back from the state, good luck.
Yeah, well, that's their issue, but it's their preference and it's in their industrial park, which is unfortunate.
I understand that. I understand all of that. But the big thing is that's going to be a process that's going to take forever. So anyway, good luck. Build one of the schools. Let's go. Come on.
We'll get an update.
Joe, do you have everything you need?
Yes, I'll at least get the committee started and have the conversation with whoever volunteers to be on said committee.
Good. We have some talented people here, so. Pick the right ones.
I'll do my best. I'll pick out the hat.
All right, community planning, Savannah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna hand the floor to Chairman of the Regional Plan of Conservation and Development Steering Committee effort, Chairman Martelli.
Thank you, Savannah. So as we reported, we're moving forward with the plan for the Naugatuck Valley Regional Plan of Conservation and Development. A survey went out to all our municipal partners, or CEOs rather. There's a QR code on the table. Looking to try to get full responses to this by April 4th, 2025. It is a rather lengthy survey, but it does identify a full gamut of issues facing each of the municipalities as well as the region in general. So please do take the time. You can start it and stop it and jump back into it. But it'll help to guide all the different sections of the regional plan, which is a multi-year effort that we're in the midst of now, which staff is doing an excellent job of facilitating. What else I want to add? Yes, jump on that. As of this morning, okay, I just want to say, as of this morning, we have 14 responses already. So there have been a lot of you that have already taken the time to do that. So if you haven't, please scan the QR code and complete it by that April date, April 4th.
All right, any questions for Andrew? Okay. Transportation planning. Title VI plan adoption. Ambassador?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Title VI plan ensures our compliance with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which makes sure that it prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin. So this update includes population data. It includes an analysis of our transportation improvement program, and it also ensures strategies for public participation in language assistance. We closed the public comment period on March 17th and have received no additional comments. So our recommendation to the board is to adopt resolution 2025-09 for the Title VI plan. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
So move.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, are there any specific requirements that we're supposed to adhere to other than the standards of the plan?
No, not necessarily. So this, again, this is just an update of the language and is inclusive of updated strategies, but there's nothing specific that the board has to adhere to. It's just to ensure that our agency is ensuring non-discrimination.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public participation plan adoption.
So this is the second plan that we talked about updating at the same time. The public participation plan serves as a framework for ensuring meaningful and effective public involvement in NVCOG's planning processes. Again, with federal regulations, require that we develop and use a documented public participation plan. So this update proposes revisions reflecting changes in technology and updated, and enhanced strategies. And the same, we, recommend that the board moves to adopt NVCOG resolution 2025-10 for public participation.
We have a motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the public participation plan? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Community Connectivity Grant Program 2025 solicitation. Nicole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just a reminder that the DOT has opened its solicitation for the Community Connectivity Grant Program. Applications from the municipalities are due to the DOT by Wednesday, May 21st. And NVCOG staff are available to assist with project concept development or to provide letters of support. A communication was sent from NVCOG to the CEOs and TTAC on February 25th with more detailed information about the program. But of course, we can resend that after this meeting. This program provides state funds for municipal construction activities between $100,000 and $800,000. And it focuses on safety and accessibility for pedestrian, bicyclists, and transit users. Additionally, to receive funding through this fiscal year 2025 solicitation, municipalities must have reached approval for final design with any projects from prior years. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, questions for Nicole? I'll just say, we've used the program before, we're using it again. Great program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, update, new mix planning and environmental linkage study.
Yeah, so we are, again, we're very lucky today to be joined by quite a few members of DOT staff to talk about this project. This has been ongoing for a while, and I won't say much more because I'll let them talk about it. So.
Good.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'll just real quickly introduce things. I'm in hand thing over to Ed because we don't have much time. We won't even have time for questions, but my name's John Dean, project manager in Major Highways Unit at Connecticut DOT. We have Mike Calabrese, the division chief of highway design, Ed Saborin, who's a project engineer in my unit, and then of course Pam Staccato and Mike Salter from Intergovernmental Affairs. So we're just going to give you an update, some background on the study. We're wrapping up our planning and environmental linkage study. We'll have some open houses coming up in the next couple of weeks, soliciting public comment, and then of course things don't end there. We'll be heading into the environmental impact statement under the National Environmental Policy Act and for SEPA as well. So without further ado, hand it over to Ed.
Stand for this. Let's see it.
You actually need to point toward Desiree with it.
Okay. Got it. I'll start bigger picture, a little bit of history on the mixed master. I-84 and Route 8 were constructed in the 1960s, not long after the flood of 1955. You can kind of see a little bit of the destruction caused by the flood in the river valley from the Naugatuck River. Another picture of the construction of I-84. The result of the flows was that Waterbury was split up into these four quadrants. The infrastructure barrier created by Route 8 and I-84. Kind of see the halos over the four sections. 84 and Route 8 are a vital link for the freight and motorists in the area, regionally within the state, New England and beyond. But the reality now is that they were designed for 50-year design life, and we're at about 60. There was a recent rehabilitation project that got us about another 20 years design life, so that takes us to about 2045 in present day. The interchange also only designed for about 100,000 vehicles. That was in the 60s, assuming that would be projected out 20, 30 years or more. By 1975, we're at 100,000. We're now at 190,000. By 2045, we'll be at 225,000 projected if the rest of the network can even handle that much traffic. So keeping the mixed master in a state of good repair, obviously one component of this, but another, the congestion and safety impact to having an oversaturated highway grades. Existing conditions. See I-84 stacked from left to right on the screen. Route 8 just west of the Naugatuck River, also stacked in that section. Ridgeline Waterbury Hospital on the west side of the river, and then Jackson Street and the railroad in the River Valley on the east side. So why replace the mixed master? I touched on a little bit of this. It's reaching the end of its service life. We've got 20 years out of the recent rehabilitation project, getting us to 2045. Maintenance, extremely complicated, dangerous, frankly. With the stacked structures, it just wasn't something that was foreseen on the original construction. So that really affects our ability to consider rehabilitation as a long-term option, which leads us to the need to replace the mixed master. In addition to the state of good repair, closely spaced ramps, left-hand entrances and exit that contribute to a very high crash rate in the area and the congestion that we've all sat through. So the new mix program, these are goals identified in our study. Biggest one, replace the interchange with a 100-year design life. Right, that 50-year design life was not enough. Let's get 100 years out of the next one. Improve safety and mobility. Improve the local road network for all users, vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians, transit. Reconnect the neighborhoods. We have an opportunity now with the rebuild. We bisected it with the original construction. We can make an effort to reconnect some of these neighborhoods. And ideally, this all helps reduce congestion, 84, Route 8, and the sub-network. Then with the reconstruction effort, we can support the regional economic development goals. So right now we're in that very first box on the left, Pell study. This has been ongoing for about the past 5 years. We just held our last PAC meeting, Project Advisory Committee meeting, and we have an upcoming public involvement meeting, information meeting, and that is concurrent with the publishing of our Pell study, at which point we're going to bring a range of alternatives that we've identified, which I will get to, into the NEPA process. That's the next phase, the environmental review phase, at which point we'll identify preferred alternative, which would then go into a full design and permitting phase with construction happening thereafter. See at the bottom, breakout projects, I will touch on that. Those are separate and independent from the main mixed master reconstruction effort. They are tied to it within the study. Just areas of other additional areas of improvement that we've identified. Those will have a separate timeline, and those are starting now and will be ongoing. A lot of stakeholder coordination, PAC meetings, public meetings, neighborhood groups, community-based organizations, Waterbury Bridge to Success, and STEAM outreach has been going on for the last couple of months. And then our regional partners, FHWA, NVCOG, City of Waterbury. Just a glimpse of the extent of all of our PAC members. Pretty exhaustive. They've had continued input for the past 5 years throughout the Pell study. And there's also a mobility equity component that helps provide insight on how to incorporate mobility equity components into the study and our recommendations. The main attraction here, this was a visualization of our screening process. Consider all the circles, the dots at the top of the filter, individual project alternatives, our ideas. The very first level was fatal flaw evaluation. So this is pretty high level engineering. Will it work? Is it possible? So the idea then gets through level 1, goes to the level 2. These are more environmental factors, those goals I had talked about earlier in the presentation. Does this alternative work with those goals? Does it work against those goals? So that was a pretty big filter in the process. And then the level 3. At this point, we're down to about 2 alternatives for the level 3. We're identifying impacts and mitigation. This was with a finer degree of detail, a little bit more engineering work went into this. And that output are a range of reasonable alternatives. Oh, I didn't know that was in there. And we have 2 alternatives that are being recommended to advance to the NEPA phase. Both alternatives reconstruct I-84 and Route 8 with a lifespan of 75 to 100 years. Eliminate most of the left-hand ramps, probably only one that has to remain. Reduce ramp reduce the number of ramps and conflict points on the main lines, introduce frontage roads to enhance the local connectivity, provide opportunities for green space and river access. And then we'll also consider planned improvements for the New Metro North line into Waterbury. Overall program cost is estimated to be about 5.2 to 5.8 billion, projected to 2045 dollars. So this is the first of the two alternatives. Key feature is that I-84 will be unstacked. So presently right now, eastbound is on top of the westbound. The eastbound will get unstacked and move to the south of the westbound. Route 8, south of 84, will also be unstacked and will cross over the Naugatuck River for a short distance and then cross back over and under I-84. This is the second alternative that is past the screening. I-84 again, unstacked, with the eastbound shifted south. Main difference here is that Route 8, unstacked, will remain on the west side of the Naugatuck River, with the Naugatuck River shifted slightly to the east. So renderings, you can see that Route 8 shifted slightly over the Naugatuck River, I-84 unstacked, service ramps from Route 8 to 84 and 84 to Route 8 are switched from left-hand exits to all right-hand exits. And the Naugatuck River shift option with Route 8 unstacked on the left side, west side of Naugatuck River. Also identified opportunities for open space, just areas around the reconstructed infrastructure that can be used for connections to existing open space. Opportunities for gateway treatments on bridges, an example on the bottom, the overpass in New Britain. And opportunities for bicycle and pedestrian improvements on the frontage roads, local roads throughout. So the overall project is what we call the long-term project. That's at the bottom of the slide. That's the core interchange components, the massive structures, the ramps from I-84 Route 8. There's also going to be breakout projects. These are standalone improvements to the highway approaches that are approaching the core interchange, as well as the local roadway network. These are all compatible with the long-term project, but they have independent utility and they can be operated on a different timeline than the long-term project. Just to give you a sense of the proposed breakout project locations throughout Waterbury, there's some on mainline 84, some on the individual interchanges with the highways and the local and the arterials, and then some on the local roads. So we just had our final PAC meeting as part of the Pell process, and we have a series of public info meetings coming up. Next major milestones for us following the public meetings are that we'll be selecting a consultant firm to perform the NEPA requirements for the project. We'll continue working with our consultant, keep refining the interchange concepts as we move into the NEPA phase, continuing to advance the breakout projects as well. And the engagement will continue. So while we have had a final PAC meeting, final public info, those activities are continued straight through the NEPA phase. You can always get more information, newmixwaterbury.com, as well as information for the upcoming public info. We'll take any questions.
I'm gonna start and then we'll go to Mayor Chatfield. At one point you mentioned the rail line. How, if at all, would this impact the freight rail line?
So, yeah, so right now, we're not expecting any permanent impacts to the freight rail or Metro North operations.
Good. All right. So you had it up there, so at one point you mentioned impact of the rail line in one of your slides.
Not impact, there is obviously inherently gonna be some interaction with building structures around it. But we can work with whatever the regional goals are.
It's gonna keep,
For the rail line.
it'll remain, service will remain intact on a freight rail line.
Correct.
Okay,
But not, if I may, just, not just service, there's a rail storage yard. That's part of that, or would you be acquiring any of that, so it would no longer be available for, as a storage or maintenance yard?
Oh, so there's currently, we're aware of a project to expand the freight interchange there, under the core of the interchange. We can work around that, so it's not ideal for us. We would love to have shorter underpasses for these frontage roads to enhance the pedestrian and bicycle connections, but understanding that that project is moving forward, we can.
and those projects are well ahead of your project, so.
Right.
Okay. Mayor Chatfield.
When you put the extra lane through Waterbury and Cheshire, Prospect was totally paralyzed during the day because everybody was going through Prospect to go down Route 8 to avoid the construction. Any consideration being given to doing something for the towns that surround that are going to be involved with traffic? You cannot believe how bad it was. You could tell the residents would let the people out, but the people that weren't residents and stopped in, they got a cup of coffee or something, they could care less about the traffic. So I would hope you would, not that I'm gonna be around then, but I think you should be thinking of somehow to take some of this traffic that's gonna go through the local towns. We're absolutely paralyzed. Volunteer firefighters couldn't get to the firehouse to get the apparatus. That's probably the worst. Like, I'm lucky I work in town hall. I can just sneak over the firehouse, but there were problems because that's how much traffic was in town. So I hope you keep that in mind as you're moving forward. Something for my town anyway, and I don't know if Woket, Naugatuck and Watertown have had problems like that, but and even worse. If there's an accident in 84, they get on the radio, boys, they're telling whoever it is, this second, go through Prospect Summit Road, go down through Naugatuck. So all I-84 is traffic coming through the town of Prospect, which is all I need a plug. We need paving down on Route 68. That goes to Naugatuck's new project, Naugatuck Waterbury project.
Really,
Yeah, this is kind of a general question for DOT. Is there any consideration ever been given to the rate of speed at which people enter onto our highways? Because I see that as being problematic. You know, people are going faster getting on than the people on the highways. And so what happens?
Interesting.
Well,
we are.
if you go out west to Washington State and Oregon, they have stoplights. To monitor, stop people and then allow them to proceed. I don't know, it's just, it's probably worse down my end of the state than it is up here, particularly the Mayor Parkway.
Yeah, I know it's not part of their project, but the department has looked at metering in various places on ramps to hold. I don't think they've ever gone forward with a project. But
Complicated.
Yeah.
Complicated.
Yeah, because that inherently has other drawbacks, right? Like, we create a lot of stuff like that. We actually just got rid of one on Route 9 in Mill County to get rid of that signal to meter the flow because there's storm crashes and people it's not.
All right, Andrew.
So understanding that it's gonna go through the same core, the 84 and the interchange, and you're gonna unstack, is there gonna be significant land takings? Because how are you gonna maintain existing service, build new, unstack in the tight urban corridors?
Not anticipating many property types. I think 2 commercial. Yeah, that's it so far. It's not a very wide footprint, you know, they'll be pretty much right next to each other, it won't be a significant median. So the footprint's already fairly large, for structure that size, it's not gonna expand too much.
You'll be able to build next to existing as it goes.
Yeah, correct.
I'm interested to see how that
Because
works.
one of the benefit of the stack is that we now have some space next to it.
For me, I know in the town of Southbury, when we build bridges, we are also implementing a maintenance program. I hope that maintenance, long-term maintenance over the next 10, 20, 30 years, and hopefully the state makes sure that there's a maintenance program funded and the ease of maintenance, because sometimes the maintenance can become detrimental to the structure. Or number two, almost, if it's difficult, it's more expensive to maintain it than it is to rebuild. I think that's what we're finding here. That the plan is at least addressed, whether it gets funded or not. It's, you know, Jerry Lukowski's here, you know, we're Southbury big on a maintenance plan to stretch these past the 100 years. You know, with routine reserve funds for that, because it's gonna have, as soon as you finish painting the last paint stripe, it's gonna need maintenance on the other end. And that's a key part of these structures, is to keep that maintenance going.
Trying to make a positive comment here, I think, just going back, the end result was awesome. Finishing up, I mean, right now the traffic just moves so smoothly, traveling down here, my wife goes to work here, just an excellent job after it was done. I'm sure hopefully we could work out the things that Mayor Bob was talking about, the traffic there was a few problems for our town too, but just the end result was, I think was great. I don't know if anybody else has the same feeling whenever you travel on that road, when you guys fixed it was a good result. Hopefully this will be the same.
Great.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. I appreciate the presentation. So I'm never usually a pretty positive guy, so don't take it bad. So when the department built 84 West project, or what do we call it, 84 East project, well, that's completed to the east of the mixed master. There apparently wasn't consideration to adding BRT to that facility, which would have extended the BRT from New Britain down to Waterbury instead of having to have express bus service. We as a region have a goal for BRT on 4 points of the compass out of this area. So first question is, are you considering any dedicated bus lanes that would come through this area, or at least the capacity to add them at some point? The second question I have has more to do with quality of life in Waterbury. Once you destack, there's a large portion that's almost totally elevated from Riverside to Meadow across the river. And it's one, because it's stacked, it's only the width of one side of the highway. It's still pretty dark, it's still pretty not pleasant. When you destack the rest of it, right now that sits, even though it's stacked, it sits on fill and then is stacked above that. When you destack it, will you be filling? It will be sitting on ground, or, because what I'm concerned about is it looks like you're creating about 100 feet of elevated pavement that's gonna create a lot of darkness, and you know, I'm worried about public safety, lighting. Pictures look good, you know, there's a lot of greenery we could draw in, but really what will grow under that elevated portion? So those are the two questions I have.
Sort of the second part. Sure. Yeah, I understand that, right? Now it's a very narrow width with the stacked structures. There's really no action or activity underneath at least Route 8. There is some underneath the I-84, but as they expand footprint such the perceived darkness around it would increase. That's the concern, correct? Right, so how much light gets in there, we can study that. What the actual use is, we can study that. What the plans are, if that's intended to just be open space, that is being looked at as part of the open space plan. But I suppose lighting is the next opportunity, and I have heard that get brought up. But yeah, it's a valid concern.
But I'm not wrong in assuming there will be an elevated portion that's about 100 feet wide.
Right, it'll be on piers, not with fill underneath it.
So, yeah, the urban design approach is something that we've been taking very seriously since the beginning, and we have been looking at examples from around the country and the world even to look at what are some ways that the space can be used and made a more inviting and welcoming place to be, and not just a dark underpass. So we are looking at, as Ed mentioned, the open space underneath, but also there's the potential for other uses as well, and lighting, aesthetic treatments, and the like.
And then are you planning to design any BRT lanes, dedicated lanes into the infrastructure at all?
As of right now, it's not incorporated, but we're coordinating with our Bureau of Public Transportation, any initiatives they have, and to make sure that we're not, closing a door that they would like to use. So we still have the NEPA phase, as we mentioned, the environmental phase and design to incorporate any of these changes if there are initiatives that move forward or are prioritized.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Thank you for coming. It was a good presentation. Very informative. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, just so as they mentioned, there will continue to be coordination between NVCOG and the project over time. We will be preparing some comments, incorporating some of what was said today, as well as some staff comments, and we'll bring a draft of that to the next meeting to ask for your endorsement to send that on.
Like we'll be commenting until 2045.
We will be commenting for a very long time, yes.
We won't be.
Where you going?
2045.
All right, so where are we here? Environmental planning. Brownsfield, Ricardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as a follow-up on the bid request for 1106 Bank Street, Waterbury, the RBP board met on the 14th. Out of the 6 firms that submitted bids, the board eliminated 4 of them and requested that the final 2 submit some additional information. We received the additional information yesterday, so the board will be meeting on the 27th, next Thursday, to make a decision. So as soon as they review and select an LEP, contracts should be executed relatively quickly afterwards, with the assessment work starting within 2 weeks after that. So that's good news for that project. And as a follow-up, we're doing this work on behalf of Waterbury Housing Authority. They do have a pending developer that is interested in acquiring the site. After this meeting, the RLF committee will be meeting to select new projects. Just giving the board a heads up of what those projects are. It's 698 South Main Street, Waterbury, as well as 000 West Main Street, Waterbury. Those are being considered for subgrants. For loans, they're considering 300 Broad Street, Bristol, as well as 196 Mill Street, Waterbury. We will share the results of that meeting once they become available. And then lastly, NVCOG is preparing to submit a response to EPA supplemental RLF funding round. Submissions are due on the 26th, next Wednesday. We're going to be requesting their max allowed, which is 4 million. So this funding is for cleanup funding. I'm just asking the board right now if you guys have any brownfield projects that may need some cleanup funding in the future. Just shoot us an email, let's discuss, and if it's a viable good project, we'll include it in our application. If not, we'll still figure out a way to help you guys out. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ricardo. Any questions? All right, Aaron.
So
Favorite topic.
yeah, so as Rick mentioned earlier, the acquisition is moving forward. With the land making agreement, we'll be able to move that even further forward. The GEI consultants are on board and they're beginning all of their data collection for the dam removal engineering effort that's going well. They've been coordinating with CDM Smith, who's doing the design of the Seymour sewer relocation project, relocating the sewer siphons that pass underneath the river above the dam. And that'll have to be done before the dam removal. So the two of them are coordinating. The big sort of the next big thing is we have a community meeting scheduled for Monday evening, 6 o'clock at the Seymour Community Center. We've been holding these every other month. They're sort of an informal, they're not public hearings or public information meetings necessarily. They're more informal conversations where we give the public updates, we hear their concerns, and we discuss the project and make sure that everybody's on the same page. We've been working on some funding requests. We submitted an additional request for $10 million to NOAA in January. We have another $8 million request going out in the next few weeks to NOAA as well for two different programs. And we've also just submitted a request to DECD for their brownfield remediation program for $4 million. So, you know, we're going to keep going after the funding that's out there. You know, I know there's a lot of uncertainty at the federal level, but, you know, we're really leaving no stone unturned looking for funding for this project. Happy to answer any questions.
We have a closing date?
With a window.
A window of opportunity.
Should I ask further or?
No, it's
Appropriate for public session?
sure, no, it's just a matter of the attorneys for the current owner. We're just engaged. There's been some back and forth on some outstanding issues, and as they can satisfy those issues, we'll be able to close. Could be by the end of March, but we're gonna leave enough room so that we don't have to do another option period. But again, it's the Brownfields Land Bank will be acquiring directly from the current owner. So
The end of March is 10 days away.
possible could happen.
Hope rings eternal.
Right. Questions for Aaron? Okay, household hazardous waste, Thomas.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a reminder that our first household hazardous waste event of the year will be held on Saturday, April 12th at the Naugatuck Transfer Station from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have sent reminder emails to all participating municipalities regarding this event, along with advertising materials to use as you please. We will send a reminder email in the coming weeks asking participating municipalities to provide one staff member for this event if they have not done so yet. To highlight the success of this program, last year we prevented 2,199 carloads of hazardous waste from entering our waste stream and environment. And we are looking forward to another successful year of the waste management that this program provides. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions for Thomas? Okay, thank you, Thomas. All right, roundtable. Is there anyone here, any CEO or anyone else at the table that wants to bring up a new topic that won't interfere with lunch? All right, hearing none, we'll go to item 12, Mayor Dunn. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Everyone, I just asked, I know we normally hang around and chat after the meeting, but 11:30, there's a close.